Good morning, and here we go again. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. We look back to yesterday, the start of the week, a full week. We actually trade for 5 days this week. I know that's unusual. That's unusual activity for you right there. That being said, yesterday, pretty bouncy day, actually, when you look at the Dow. Actually finished down on the day, down 60 points. Nothing big, nothing to be overly concerned about, but following what was an absolutely amazing, strong week, which we had not seen in quite a long time. Look over at the NASDAQ, kind of the same thing. Early on, it was strong, but it immediately pulled back and kind of wavered around, mostly in negative territory for the majority of the day, finishing down about 80 points yesterday. We have the volatility index dripping from 28 down towards 27. It's been kind of that slow pull back after getting up into those lower 30s, mid 30s, not too terribly long ago. We look at the S&P, that was also down about 11 points, makes total sense. But crude was one of the areas where we started to see a little bit of movement back to the upside. And we get back up 109, 110, sort of in that area. Looking at the 2 and the 10 year, we've been talking about that's been a great trigger point. Didn't do a whole lot of movement yesterday, so we really weren't able to go off of that. So that was something where we were just watching the markets, and then maybe why the markets were kind of calm, but also kind of moving a little bit to the downside as we had a little bit of a brief lift to the upside. A little bit, very, very little on the 2s and 10s. Bitcoin started off the day around 21,500, finished the day just underneath that 21,000 level. It seems like Bitcoin is having a very, very difficult time trying to get any kind of that momentum to the upside, at least since we've seen this big, massive sell-off that we've seen there as well. Sectors. It led all day long. Again, it was energy. Energy was up a little, close to 3% yesterday. Consumer discretion down about 1%. That was pulling on the markets a little bit, particularly when you're looking over at something like the NASDAQ itself. Materials down about 0.8% yesterday. Financials, not a whole lot of movement there. Down a little bit, close to 0.5%, but not quite. Now, what was really working yesterday, obviously energy, but those beta names. Absolutely explosive move to the upside for those beta energy names yesterday. Bring them up all the time. A lot of guys like to focus on the services. I do not. I'm looking at the XOP. I'm looking at a lot of those names that are in that particular category. Names like Valero and Devon and Hess all had a really nice day yesterday. Marathon Oil as well. Halliburton, very, very strong. We talked about this yesterday during the take as well. But when we were looking at those materials yesterday, when you're looking at agricultural spot, and then you look at something like Mosaic, you look at CF Industries having a pretty strong day. Chinese names also had a pretty good day yesterday. And John was actually talking about some of the activity that we had seen yesterday. I think he used it on the unusual when we were doing the Rebel Edge. If you haven't had a chance to catch that, you're going to want to on Mondays. John and I do it live. It's great. A lot of fun. We got just a time clock. We're moving along. We're slamming it in. We're covering everything from the markets to unusual option activity. And then we get a chance to do a little bit on the sports side as well. So we really are trying to cover it all with the Rebel's Edge. You're going to want to catch that next week. We're doing it on Mondays. It's 1:30 Eastern, Rebel Edge. You're going to love this. It's really a lot of fun. So Chinese names, we had JD, we had Baidu, we had NetEase. We also look over and you start to see names like Biogen and Moderna having a pretty good day. Matter of fact, Merck strong, United Health strong, a little bit of a bounce back for United Health. It's been up, but it also has had a little bit of a downward move. Yesterday, moving back to the upside. Names like Etsy, however, just continue to kind of pull on the markets. There's an interesting area within the markets that we're watching this back and forth, and it's been more on the backside where we've been seeing a little bit of that move to the downside. Names like Etsy being in that category. Not Bed Bath & Beyond. Bed Bath & Beyond is another one of those names, but Best Buy, also a name that's been kind of moving a little bit more to the downside after a little bit of a pop and just can't seem to be able to catch that footing. It's been under a little bit of pressure. Airlines, United Airlines, also under pressure. Those cruise ships, names like Lucid, names like Nike, names like Boeing, all of those. Nike was going into earnings. As a matter of fact, let's jump right to that one. Then we'll get back to where the markets are today. But when you look at Nike, you look at those earnings, one of the things that stood out for me, John pointed out some of the unusual options on the put side for Nike yesterday. The guys also highlighted that as well on the unusual option activity here at Market Rebellion. Now, it was not only that, but there is competition. There is a lot of different things going on. And a lot of what people have missed out on a little bit as well is in China, are they going to continue at the pace that they were with Nike because they are starting to buy some of their own companies, staying with that nationalistic kind of an idea? And I think that's part of it as well. Talked about margins. They had a weak outlook. All of that just tells you, hey, look, stock that was trading closer to 110 today is trading a little bit closer to 106. And I don't know that it's a time that you want to start being a bottom feeder here because I'm not sure we're quite there yet. I say that with a bit of bias because yesterday, late in the day, decided to put my money where my mouth was and actually buy puts into the close just after reading more and more research about what was going on with Nike and some of the struggles that they have. It is not just about shutdowns, guys. It's not just about all of the rest of these things and that people talk about. I think there's a little bit more to this story. We'll find out. We'll find out over time. Home prices hit record numbers when you look at April. And then you start to look at today after yesterday, a little bit of that pullback. Boy, markets were really strong right out of the gate. Early on, we were up about 150 points on the Dow, up about 35 points on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ was up as much as 100 points, the Dow up over 400 points. And then we started to pull back a little bit. The Dow's now, last I looked, right before coming on here, up about 100 points. But you look over at the NASDAQ, it was down about 45 points. So up 100, down 45. We're only in the first hour of trade, folks. So that gives you a little bit of an idea that it is going to be a wild ride. It is going to be a little bit choppier today, and we got to keep our very much our focus on what we're seeing in the markets. We're looking at crude at 110, 111. I'd look at volatility slipping underneath 27. It might start creeping back up again if we continue the path that we have been on in this first hour of trade. We'll see how that goes. The 2 and the 10-year had not been making a very big move in this first hour, but that can change as well pretty rapidly as we're seeing actually energy start to move a little bit more to the upside. Out of the gate, we were up about 2%. We've been up more than 4% already today on the energy sector. Financials hanging in there pretty good. They're well over 1%. Those are the two that stand out the very most. Industrials just kind of hanging around a little bit. Materials hanging around a little bit. All the sectors were green early, and then consumer discretion started to pull back just a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more. And that was some of that pull that we were seeing specifically in some of that piece of the NASDAQ as well. Already talked about Nike, margins shrinking, that forecast not so great. And I think that combination, what did help out Nike, you got to give all the credit in the world, they put out a buyback that was absolutely massive. Now, I think that part of that's part of what my gut tells me as well is, why did they go so big with that? Well, they wanted to influence the markets. It worked for a little while. It worked last night, worked a little bit this morning. It's starting not to work so great now, but there is that huge buyback, and that is something that needs to be talked about as well. I think it was $18 billion they were putting into buyback. So that was something that did help prop it up for a moment, but that moment didn't last very long. We'll see if that kind of can come back into the conversation as well. So we do have some movers today. There's no doubt about it. You look over in different industries. You look over for starters. How about the casinos? Obviously, we always look to China, but also Las Vegas and all around the rest of the country. But Wynn, Las Vegas Sands, MGM, all very strong out of the gate. You've also got United, you've got Delta, you've got American, strong right out of the gate. You've got cruise ships that actually flipped around, and they're looking pretty strong as well. Looking at names like Carnival and Royal and Norwegian, all in positive territory. Marriott from a hotel standpoint, Airbnb, Bookings.com, all of those pretty strong. And Starbucks kind of chipping in a little bit as well. What was working yesterday, kind of pulling back a little bit today, though. When you're looking at some of these names in the healthcare spot, you're looking at names like Biogen, Vertex. They were not getting slammed, but definitely in the red early on, along with Pfizer, along with Merck. We did have some call buying in Merck. A little bit surprised to see that one pulling back, but that call buying going out to August, but also in the near term as well. So we'll see if there's any kind of a flip. It's only Tuesday in the week, so we'll see how that moves around. By the way, guys, at the close today, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to turn off everything else. You're going to want to focus here at Market Rebellion. Why? We got Gene Munster from Loop Capital. Now, Gene is a great friend. He lives just a few miles that away. What a wonderful guy. Does a really great job of all the hard work that he did for many years at Piper, then moved around. Then he moved over and created Loop Capital. and he has been a great guest in the past. I know he'll be a great guest today. We're really looking forward to hearing what Gene has to say about the markets and what he sees. Is there pullbacks in the future? Is there what? He's one of those guys who just really does do an incredible job of a lot of hard work to try to dig into everything. And he's not just tech. He's a little bit of a broader thing than that. But of course, we'll be talking about Apple. We'll be talking about Tesla. We'll be talking about a lot of those things individually, Elon Musk and so forth. So should be a great conversation. Join John and myself and the rest of the Market Rebellion crew and Gene Munster. Should be a lot of fun at this round table. I got two unusuals, then I'm out of here. Starting off, we have a lot of energy hitting early on, but the one that stood out most for me, Chevron. Why do I say that? The stock has been on a great path to the upside. Really a great CEO. They've done a lot of things, I think, in the right way. Just the other day, did some changing what's going on at the California and the home office and all the rest of it. But let me tell you, stock trading just underneath 151. A buyer of 10,000 of the September 175 calls. This is a stock that's made a pretty substantial move over the last 6 months, year, whatever time frame you want to take a look. But they're looking for even more. 175 strike calls. They were going for about $2.60. 10,000 of those. 10,000, you multiply by 260, by 100, all that. These are big numbers that we're seeing that are flowing into Chevron. We've also seen it in Exxon. We've also seen it in Marathon. We've seen it in a lot of different names. This Chevron really did stand out. Airbnb, I just mentioned that one in the positive territory, along with some of those others in that sort of space. Airbnb trading right around 105. We got a buyer of 4,800 of the July 1st. That is Friday, July 1st, the 110 call. So these got to happen in a hurry. It's got to make a big move. 60 cents up to $1. Can the stock make that kind of a move in a short period of time? It's done stuff like that in the past. Will it do it again? We'll see. That's where the smart money, the option money is flowing right now. So we'll see if that one's going to be right. Should be pretty interesting. Folks, have a great day of trading. If you get in the derivatives markets, you got to know what you're doing. Get educated. Books, internet, whatever you want to do. We got great teachers here. Great folks that'll educate you in the derivatives world. Bill and the gang do an unbelievable job. I would encourage you to do that. Do not just jump in. It can be very, very complicated at times. I'm Pete Najarian. Have a great day of trading.